Part 7. Blessed to have each other in this life, Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 61. It was a peaceful night. I had a good night's sleep, opened her eyes, and saw the bright sunlight shining through the cracks in the curtains, white particles slowly flying in the orange gold light. Everything was quiet and warm. It's great without Chang. She stretched her arms, got up in a happy mood, then blocked the door with vases and chairs, and moved them away one by one. After washing up, she went downstairs to have breakfast. At the dinner table, Bai Wei looked at Zi with the feeling of a young girl in my family. My Zi has grown up and is getting more and more beautiful. Zi replied with a smile, I'm still young, my mother is the most beautiful. This is Zi's sincere words, not flattery. Half of Chang's good skin is inherited from Bai Wei. Bai Wei's appearance is extremely glamorous and charming. A person who is clearly in his 50s looks like he is in his early 30s, even his figure is as graceful as a girl's, showing no trace of age at all. Definitely the envy of most women. If it wasn't for getting along with her during this time, Zi would have gotten to know this mother a little better, otherwise she would definitely have doubted whether Bai Wei had undergone cosmetic surgery such as photorejuvenation, skin lifting, and wrinkle removal. Bai Wei was very happy to be coaxed by her daughter, and said with a smile, Mom is old, so why are you talking about beauty? She took out a bank card from her bag and handed it to Zi with loving eyes. Here, this is for you. Zi was drinking porridge with preserved egg and lean meat, and took it, feeling a little dazed. Bai Wei said, my mother has saved tuition and living expenses for you, and I will deposit a sum of living expenses here every month in the future. Zi looked at Bai Wei in surprise. Where did Bai Wei get so much money? Although she was once favored by Mr. Mu, after the death of Mr. Mu, she was exploited and bullied by Mrs. Mu for nearly 10 years, so there should be very little left of her. Taking a step back, even if Bai Wei has saved some savings under Mrs. Mu's nose, it is still her pension money, and it is the foundation for her to live and work. Instead of spending it on her son, she paid her adopted daughter's tuition instead. 2 million. Even Mu Rongxian would feel pain in the flesh, and Zi believes that for Bai Wei, it is definitely a huge sum of money. But she didn't hesitate at all, and just handed it over to Zi, full of love and trust. Zi's heart was shaken, and she couldn't recover for a long time. For some reason, the tip of the nose is a little sore. She was a child abandoned by her parents, and only her grandmother loved her since she was a child. Bai Wei's warmth made her seem to have returned to the time when she lived with her grandmother. Why do you look at my mother like this? Bai Wei said with a smile, when you go to school, you have to study hard and listen to the teacher. It doesn't matter if you can't keep up with your grades for a while, take your time, don't rush. Mom, stop talking. Zi lowered her head, stirring the porridge in the bowl unconsciously with the spoon, her voice muffled. Going on, she wanted to cry. Unexpectedly, the first warmth after rebirth came from this silly, sweet adoptive mother. After breakfast, Bai Wei took out some new clothes, all of which she bought for Zi when she went out yesterday. She wanted her daughter to dress up for her new school. The clothes range from casual sportswear to lady-style small dresses, and a cheongsam in Zionjai Uncha jacquard. The cheongsam has a lake blue background, with a simple and elegant jasmine pattern, which is chic and pretty. Zi liked it very much. But cheongsam is not like other clothes, it needs to be tailor-made. Bai Wei bought this one, I don't know if it fits well. Zi went back to her room to try on clothes. There is a zipper on the back of the improved cheongsam for easy putting on and taking off. Zi touched the zipper with her hands behind her back for a long time, but she couldn't touch the zipper. She heard footsteps behind her and thought it was Bai Wei. Mom, how do you wear this cheongsam? Should it be buttoned first or zipped first? The man's deep and hoarse voice sounded, "You should take it off first." Musei's legs felt weak. "It's Murong Cheng again. Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again." Author, Hua Hua Liao. Chapter 62. He got in so easily. Why did she lock the door and move the flower pot yesterday? Musei suddenly felt that he was a funny clown. All his efforts were just to add to the jokes, and they couldn't hinder this man at all. Feeling the approaching breath behind him, Musei panicked to hide, but was pulled into his arms by Murong Cheng. He laughed, "In such a big room, where do you hide?" The zipper on Musei's back hadn't been closed yet, but she didn't care about it at this moment, so she could only hold her chest tightly with her hands to protect the front territory from falling. "Get out," she shouted. Murong Cheng bowed his head, and pressed his thin lips against her smooth, snow-satin back. The cold temperature made Musei tremble. "Go out?" "But I haven't gone in yet, how can I get out?" he teased wantonly. Musei tensed up all over. "Dirty." She resisted Murong Cheng's domineering way of treating her as his own, and even more hated his intimacy regardless of time and place. Sensing that the man's kiss was gradually moving upwards and getting stronger, Musei was so startled that the hairs all over her body stood on end. "Don't make any marks," her voice was so thin that she wanted to jump. Murong Cheng really stopped. He pulled Musei over and made her face him. The tall body leaned forward, with his forehead against hers, and he said in an affectionate tone, "Zizi, if you kiss me once, I won't make any marks." "I don't," Musei flatly refused. Murong Cheng laughed softly, and caressed the fabric around her waist with his palms. "Then I'll strip you naked and make you have marks all over your body. Do you want to start from the top, or from the bottom?" "Rogue. Asshole." Musei yelled in her heart. But she didn't dare to really offend Murong Cheng. Murong Cheng could do anything. "Zizi, kiss me." The man's magnetic voice was full of coaxing. "I brought you a gift back." "Who cares about your gift? Let go of me and close your eyes." Musei bit her lips and said, quite bearing the humiliation. Murong Cheng took a deep look at her, let go of his hand as he said, and really closed his eyes. Musei turned around and ran away. Want her to kiss that rogue pervert? Dream. But freedom is only for a moment. Her body suddenly flew into the air, and Murong Cheng picked her up from behind and threw her directly onto the bed. Musei almost cried out of anger. Although she is not top-notch in fighting class, she is still considered a good fighter. Why is she like a wastewood when she meets Murong Cheng? "Murong Cheng, wait a moment." Musei struggled to get up, but this time, any sophistry would be futile. The man's slender and straight body pushed him down. "Chi la." The sound of cloth being torn made Musei tremble violently. This pervert. He really wants to strip her naked. She fought him. There are two people on the bed, one is refusing to obey, the other is arbitrarily demanding. The entanglement seems to last forever, without end. In the end, Musei was defeated. She cried. I cried very sadly. For the humiliation I suffered, but also for my weakness and incompetence. Satisfied, Murong Cheng stood up, hugged her in his arms, and wiped her tears lovingly. "I didn't do anything to you," he smiled lowly and pinched the tip of her red nose. "What a squeamish girl who loves to cry." Musei burst into tears. Being stripped naked and kissed over and over again, is this still called doing nothing? Anger? What was it called? "You're a bastard," Musei choked. Since she had all the advantages anyway, she had no scruples. Crazy, beast, pervert, crazy. She grabbed the new clothes on the bed, saw the tear marks, and felt even more sad. "This is made of Shangyun yarn, you ruined it all." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Blessed to have each other in this life, Shao, your wife is born again. Author, HandsomeMaleLead. Chapter 63. It's just a piece of clothing, and it's worth your embarrassment. Cheng smiled, put his arms around her and kissed her again and again. I'll buy 10 or 20 pieces some other day and come back. You don't understand anything at all. I burst into tears. Good materials are not always available, and hand embroidery is even more rare, not to mention, besides, she didn't really cry for the clothes. When she saw the miserable state of this Chong Sam, she would think of how she was bullied by him. She was cried by Cheng angrily. The bastard. I cried so hard that she didn't even have the energy to scold him. Cheng enjoyed the feeling of holding her in his arms, even though the girl in his arms was crying. He took out a black gift box and handed it to I. Open it and have a look. I don't want it. I hated Cheng, and incidentally hated everything about him. Cheng was rejected, but he was not annoyed. He bit her earlobe lightly, and exhaled hot breath from his cool lips. I don't want a gift, just kiss again. I trembled all over, grabbed the gift box tightly. I want it. That is torture. She doesn't want to go through it again. Cheng smiled in satisfaction. Hey, open it. I stretched his nerves, and opened the rectangular gift box that was as big as a palm. Inside is a mobile phone. I breathed a sigh of relief. She subconsciously thought that the gift from Cheng would not be something good. He is such a perverted person, and his taste in giving gifts must be very perverted, either a python or a poisonous scorpion. Fortunately, it is a mobile phone. But then her heart arose again. She remembered the matter of Cheng spying on her. Is there tracking and location in the phone? I blurted out in horror. Cheng pressed a kiss on her forehead again, like a reward. Well, my ZZ is really smart. I. Can I throw it away now? Being monitored at home and being tracked when she goes out, is she still free? I wanted to refuse, but she had tasted Cheng's tricks, and fear had grown in her heart, so she could only accept the phone reluctantly. Cheng held her hand and taught her to turn it on. As a matter of course, he entered his fingerprint and backup password in the unlock function. In other words, he can check this phone at any time. I really couldn't stand him like this. Brother, can you stop doing this? With the last hope in her arms, she shook Cheng's strong arm and said with a sob, let's be brothers and sisters again, isn't it good? Zizi likes to be brother and sister. Cheng kissed her teary eyelids lightly, and said with a low smile, then be brother and sister, no matter what kind is good, brother and sister may be more exciting. I was completely desperate. She can't communicate with a pervert. After fiddling with the phone, Cheng let her go. I changed her clothes again, went to wash her face specially, applied cold water to her eyes that were red from crying, and then followed Cheng downstairs. Downstairs, Bai Wei was also fiddling with a new mobile phone. It's the same as the mobile phone that Cheng gave her. Seeing the two of them coming down, Bai Wei waved at them with a smile. Cheng, help me see how this function should be set. Like most middle-aged women, Bai Wei is not very good at things like mobile phones and computers, and her cognition is only limited to the most superficial functions. Cheng went over to help her adjust, and Bai Wei occasionally asked questions, and he explained in a low voice, with a calm expression, not impatient or impatient. He is still very good to Bai Wei, he is a filial son. I watched silently from the side. When he is not abnormal, he is normal, suave and graceful like a handsome and noble son, very pleasing to the eye. Hey, why do you have to be perverted? I sighed deeply. Bai Wei figured out the functions of the phone, and seeing that it was late, she got up and went to the kitchen to cook. Once Bai Wei left, Mu Ziyi had to face Murong Cheng alone again. She subconsciously retreated to the side. Mu Ziyi discovered that she had started to be afraid of Murong Cheng unconsciously. Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 64. How can you not be afraid? In the first half of her life, she had faced all kinds of criminals, cunning, vicious, and cold-blooded, but none was like Murong Cheng. He is a bully. Moreover, she is a bully who can restrain her everywhere. Now the bully is waving at her. Mu Ziyi didn't move, and stared at him vigilantly. Murong Cheng said, "Are you coming here by yourself, or waiting for me to carry you here?" Mu Ziyi bit her lip and reluctantly walked over. Murong Cheng pulled her to sit down next to him, very close. He turned on the TV, picked a channel randomly, and played with Mu Ziyi's little hands while watching TV programs. Mu Ziyi breathed a sigh of relief, but felt uncomfortable all over. Relaxed because Murong Cheng didn't go crazy anymore, and awkward because Murong Cheng was always messing with her. He pinched her fingers, scratched her palms, and wrapped the long hair on her shoulders around her fingers, round and round. Mu Ziyi was very troubled. Murong Cheng found that her nails were split. She hit and scratched him just now on the bed, probably hurt her nails at that time. He got up to get the nail clippers, put Muse's hands on his lap, and trimmed her nails bit by bit, as if treating his beloved pets carefully and gently. Mu Ziyi didn't resist. Basically, as long as Murong Cheng doesn't do too much, she can hold back now. The series of Outlaws of the Marsh is playing on TV. Wu Song stripped off Pan Jinlian's clothes, stabbed her chest with a knife, dug out her heart, and chopped off her head with another knife, spattering 3 feet of blood. Murong Cheng glanced casually, trimmed the final nails, pulled Mu Ziyi's 10 fingers together and placed them in front of his eyes, and curled up his thin lips in satisfaction. Women who provoke men outside usually don't end well. He took Muse's hand and kissed the back of it lightly. I'm usually not at home, so be good and don't let me see or hear bad things. Mu Ziyi got goosebumps. Not only is he perverted, he also has straight male cancer. Mu Ziyi didn't want to be restrained by him, and didn't want to offend him, so she lowered her attitude and discussed with him, but living together, it is inevitable to meet sometimes, so I can't even say hello. Mu Zening won't be back in a short time, Murong Cheng said flatly. Muse's heart trembled slightly, and she knew that he must have done something wrong. This man is too scary, he hides his strength in the dark, and quietly plays with the Mu family. Not to mention the methods, just this kind of character is frightening. Mu Ziyi began to worry, could she really escape Murong Cheng's clutches in the future? Murong Cheng seemed to be very concerned about Mu Zening's existence, his deep dark eyes narrowed slightly, and his voice was cold. Even if he comes back, you are not allowed to have any contact with him. Mu Ziyi thought for a while, then asked, what about Big Brother? Although Murong Xian is in his 50s, he is considered a man. If he comes to you, let mom stay with you. Mu Ziyi was speechless. He actually had to guard against even an old man in his 50s. What about the male servants at home? She asked again, and then gestured to list them with her fingers, the security guards, gardeners, chefs, drivers at home, are all men. When Murong Cheng heard the words, he slightly narrowed his deep eyes, his expression seemed to be a smile but not a smile, inexplicably a little gloomy. Mu Ziyi shuddered. Before Murong Cheng did anything to her, Mu Ziyi was timid. Brother, I know, I won't say a word to them. The veil in Murong Cheng's eyes faded away, he smiled evilly, and gently touched Mu Ziyi's head. Ziyi is so good. This kind of praise can't make Mu Ziyi happy, it will only make her more depressed. She was depressed and complained at the same time, Su Ziyi, you are so worthless. Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again. Author, HhandsomeMaleLead. Chapter 65. Bai Wei cooked the meals, and saw the brother and sister sitting on the sofa watching TV. The years were quiet and peaceful. She is very relieved. The meal is ready, go wash your hands and eat, Bai Wei said to them. The food was as good as ever. Bai Wei's craftsmanship is comparable to that of a chef in a private restaurant. Mom, there is actually a cook at home, so you don't have to work so hard every day, Muzi said softly, biting her chopsticks. Although she was greedy for Bai Wei's craftsmanship, she didn't want Bai Wei to stay in the kitchen all the time, leaving her alone to face the big bad wolf in fear. Mom likes to cook, but if you don't let her do it, she'll be bored. Murong Cheng put a piece of sweet and sour pork ribs in Muzi's bowl. His playful eyes seemed to penetrate her little thoughts. Muzi looked at the spare ribs in the bowl, and felt that no matter how good the food was, Murong Cheng's chopsticks would turn off his appetite. Do you want me to feed you? Murong Cheng asked. No, I'll eat it myself. She quickly picked up the bowl and bit the rib. Bai Wei on the side laughed. Your brother is teasing you, how could he really feed you? Zizi is so cute. Murong Cheng also smiled lightly, pinched her little face. Yeah, Zizi is very cute. Muzi. She bit off the ribs in her mouth as if to vent her anger, imagining that the ribs were Murong Cheng, biting and grinding them and swallowing them in her stomach. No, she can't swallow it. If this rib is Murong Cheng, she will feel sick. At the dinner table, Bai Wei chatted about the mobile phone. Bai Wei was very happy to be able to use the new model of the same style as her daughter, and asked many questions about the functions of the mobile phone. I heard that this is a parent-child model, and the charging cable can also be used in common. Bai Wei smiled, happy for these trivial things. Muzi absently pawed at the rice grains in the bowl. Once the cognition of Murong Cheng is not a good person is established in his brain, no matter what he does, it will be a conspiracy in Muzi's eyes. Prepare two identical mobile phones at the same time, which can not only conceal the purpose of his sending the mobile phone, but also prevent her from obsequious. If Muzi uses another mobile phone, Bai Wei will immediately notice the difference. At that time, Bai Wei will open those eyes that are more ignorant and innocent than a baby, and ask, Zizi, why don't you use the mobile phone that my brother gave you? I can't think about it, I feel bad when I think about it. After the meal, Murong Cheng didn't bother her anymore. He answered the phone and went to his room. Muzi also hurried back to her room. With Murong Cheng around, she felt that nowhere in the house was safe. Even going to the bathroom to take a shower was apprehensive, lest some stinky hooligan with no limit would break in. Waiting until nightfall is a more tense moment. Muzi locked the door, hesitating whether to use chairs and vases to cover the door like last night. If Murong Cheng dared to force his way, the vase would fall off the chair, and the sound would attract Bai Wei from the next room. With Bai Wei around, Murong Cheng should at least restrain himself a bit, right? Muzi made such calculations. Bang, bang, bang. The sound of knocking on the door was clear. Muzi was slightly taken aback. Zizi, open the door. Murong Cheng called her name outside the door, and at the same time knocked on the door a few more times. Muzi felt a breath of depression in her chest, which made her feel uncomfortably stuffy. Murong Cheng did not force his way in, he was knocking on the door openly. What should she do? To open, or not to open? Muzi bit her lip and decided to pretend she didn't hear. This guy's knocking on the door was even louder. Soon, Muzi heard Bai Wei's voice, Rong Cheng, what's wrong? I knocked on Zizi's door, but there was no movement inside, so I was a little worried, Murong Cheng said lightly. Really? Bai Wei became nervous, and ran over, slamming on the door. Zizi? Zizi, are you in there? Muzi tried her best to take a few deep breaths. She twisted the doorknob and forced a smile. What's the matter, Mom? I just fell asleep. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Blessed to have each other in this life, Shao, your wife is born again. Author, HandsomeMaleLead. Chapter 66. Bai Wei breathed a sigh of relief, as if she had made a false alarm. You kid, you scared my mother. Muzi has a history of committing suicide by cutting her wrists. If she shuts herself in the room without making a sound, Bai Wei will be very worried. After confirming that Muzi was fine, Bai Wei went back to the room, leaving Muzi and Murongcheng standing at the door to confront each other. Brother, it's getting late, I'm going to bed. Muzi's voice was soft, as if she was very well behaved, but her eyes were always vigilant. Murongcheng smiled lowly, going to bed so early, the dinner in my stomach hasn't been digested yet, aren't you afraid of gaining weight? You are gaining weight. Your whole family is gaining weight. Muzi pursed her lips, and suddenly thought that she and Murongcheng are indeed a family now. How disgusting. Murongcheng took her hand and walked out with his slender legs. Muzi was forced to follow. Brother, where are we going? Muzi tried to pull his hand out, but he held it very tightly. Murongcheng turned his head, the smile on his lips was a bit unpredictable. Go for a walk in the garden. Are you sure it's just a walk? Muzi didn't believe it. At the same time, she was also puzzled, what tricks Murongcheng was going to play. If he wants to play hooligans, the garden is not a good place to go, because there will be security guards patrolling the back garden at night from time to time. She followed Murongcheng downstairs in a daze, and came to the living room. Then he saw Murongcheng open the snake box. Murongcheng fished out most of the fat body of the piebald boa constrictor, and then it seemed to wake up, and slowly slid out of the terrarium, rubbing against the floor while sliding, making a creepy rustling sound. Muzi froze. Only then did she understand what Murongcheng meant by walking. Murongcheng dragged the snake to the door, allowing it to crawl out slowly. Take a walk every 7 or 8 days. When I'm not around, you can take Sisi for a walk, you don't have to go far, it's in the garden outside. His tone was understated, as if he was talking about a small daily matter. He didn't get a response, so he looked back at Muzi, saw her pale face, knew that she was afraid, so he picked up the metal stick in the corner and handed it to her. Don't be afraid, if Sisi is disobedient, wrap this stick around its neck and pull it back. I don't want it. Trembling, Muzi took a step back, refusing to pick up the stick. She can't do it. She would rather go back to the past and interrogate the cruelest criminals than be with a boa constrictor. Murongcheng saw that she was really terribly afraid, so he came over and put his arms around her waist, kissed her forehead and eyebrows. Zizi, Sisi will protect you, you don't have to be afraid of it. Muzi couldn't listen to his words at all. At this moment, she can only think about one thing. He touched her with the hand that held the snake. Too disgusting. Muzi couldn't push him away. In fact, she doesn't believe a snake can protect herself at all. If this snake is really spiritual, it should swallow this heinous man in front of him in one gulp. The person who bullies her the most is Murongcheng. Sisi at the door had completely disappeared, even the tip of his tail was gone. Murongcheng forcibly dragged her out of the door, followed behind the wandering giant python, and even forced her to stroke the fat and smooth body of the snake. He repeatedly emphasized, "Let Sis be familiar with your breath." Muzi was on the verge of weeping, too almost numb at the end. She was ashamed and felt that she was done. Murongcheng has another way to torture her for fun. Blessed to have each other in this life, Shao, your wife is born again. Author, HandsomeMaleLead. Chapter 67. They came to the artificial lake in the garden. The artificial lake of Mu's family has a long trestle bridge, which can lead to the center of the lake. After Sisi got into the water, Murong Cheng took Mu Zi to rest in the middle of the lake. The evening breeze is cool and the starry sky is bright. If you don't consider the snakes in the water and the men around you, this is definitely an excellent dating environment. The surface of the lake is very calm, with the occasional sound of rippling water. Although Sisi is huge in size, the waves that arise when he swims are very gentle. The water waves are pushed around slowly, and then disappear into the water without making a sound. "How long will it take?" Mu Zi asked Murong Cheng softly, but his fingers clenched tightly revealed his anxiety. She hated the activity, and I'm afraid anyone who was dragged out to walk snakes at night at the National People's Congress would not like it very much. "Hurry up," Murong Cheng replied. "How soon is it? 5 minutes? Or 10 minutes? Mu Zi was upset. She stood by the railing of the trestle bridge and looked into the distance. Under the starlight, her skin is as white as jade, her figure is slender and delicate, the night wind blows, her ink-like hair flutters, like the ripples on the surface of a lake, she is so beautiful. Murong Cheng quietly stared at her profile, his heart skipped a beat. There is a faint illusion that Suzi's soul and Mu Zi's body have been perfectly integrated. After hearing the news of Suzi's death, he checked the profiles of countless women in just a few days. It's not easy. Huang Legui's request is tricky, not only requires the horoscope to match, but also can't be too deeply tied to the 6 relatives. After screening, those who are young, old, and sick are also eliminated. In the end, Murong Cheng had to pick out the beautiful ones. It's not because he prefers beauty, it's just because he doesn't want to wrong her. His woman, even if she lived a new life, should be beautiful, confident, and proud. He chose Su Xian, but unexpectedly, by mistake, his sister committed suicide on the day of the funeral, which happened to be at that place. Su Zi did not become Su Xian, but Mu Zi. As for Huang Legui, probably knowing that his ritual was unsuccessful, he took the gold and ran away. Murong Cheng has his hidden worries. The reason why Horcruxes are precious is because Horcruxes can nourish souls, and after a long time, ghosts can really become humans. But his sister is not a Horcrux, this body will only keep repelling Suzi's soul, Murong Cheng can only use external force to nourish her soul. Not to mention that this method is thankless, and the effect is greatly reduced. And, very offensive. For example, the girl in front of me was forced to walk with the snake. Murong Cheng saw the boredom in Mu Zi's eyes, so he smiled lightly. "Don't worry, it won't swim for too long." Murong Cheng walked over to hug her, kissed her shiny black hair lightly, breathing heavily. "Sisi is very lazy, he will go ashore in a while." Mu Zi pursed her lips, not wanting to talk to him. Murong Cheng reached out and lifted her chin. Her eyes are as bright as black gemstones, anger, grievance, anxiety, forbearance, no matter what kind of emotions are filled in them, they are all dazzling, just like her, no matter what she turns into, he can still haunt his dreams. Zi. He called her name in a low voice, his voice was gentle to the bone. Mu Zi only thought he was calling Zi. However, his voice was too soft, too greasy, so greasy that she got goosebumps. "It's really nasty. Because I hate him, it's hard to be moved by his affection, and I can't accept or cater to him." The moment Murong Cheng kissed her, Mu Zi suddenly lowered his head, his kiss fell on her forehead, slightly cool and moist. Mu Zi let out a small breath, feeling grateful that he escaped a catastrophe. But then his waist tightened, and the man pinched his jaw with irresistible strength. "Brother," Mu Zi hastily put both hands on his chest, her eyes were rolling and flickering, then, look, Sisi is gone. Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 68. Murong Cheng laughed. His little thing seemed to be making an excuse just because she didn't want to kiss. He likes the way she knows she can't escape, but she doesn't give up and uses some cleverness to calculate her own interests. Lively and nimble, like a little fox. Murong Cheng said narrowly, really, maybe Ceci just doesn't want to disturb us. His voice was eloquent, and his burning eyes fell on her trembling lips. He likes her lips, soft and tender, softer and sweeter than flower buds that bloom in early spring, but it's a pity that he tastes them a little bit every time, which is very dissatisfying. Murong Cheng's eyes were so straightforward that Mu Ziyi turned pale with shock. She quickly covered his approaching mouth and hurriedly said, "Yes, it's true. Ceci really disappeared. It's so big, if it scares anyone what to do? Then, those security guards are carrying electric batons. They will hurt it?" Her fingers were soft and her palms were warm, with a faint girlish fragrance, which made him more and more happy. But seeing the panic and resistance in her eyes, Murong Cheng's heart softened inexplicably. He seldom softened his heart, and the few times he gave it all to Mu Ziyi. Murong Cheng let her go. "Maybe it went back, I often take it out, sometimes when it gets tired from swimming, it will go back by itself," Murong Cheng replied lightly. Going back, Mu Ziyi looked around at the lake surface, there was no ripple at all. "Then let's go back too." Murong Cheng took her hand and walked to the villa in front. Mu Ziyi realized now that when he said go back, he meant to go back to the previous room. Ceci and Murong Cheng lived together in the front villa. Although this creature lacks intelligence, after a few years of follow-up, it has formed a habit, and it will consciously crawl back after swimming. Mu Ziyi understood this truth, but she was unwilling to go with Murong Cheng. To be precise, she didn't want to stay in Murong Cheng's room together with a man, a widow and a big boa constrictor. Who knows if he will become a beast at that time. Standing at the corner of the stairs, Muse's hands and feet were involuntarily stiff, and she felt that the road ahead was like a monster's deep and terrifying mouth, trying to swallow her whole. She refused to go any further. Murong Cheng stared at her for a while, and went alone without forcing. Mu Ziyi breathed a sigh of relief. Although it was night, the crystal wall lamps in the corridor were bright, and the surroundings were bright. Mu Ziyi is not afraid at all. As long as she left Murong Cheng, she felt that her courage would come back. Mu Ziyi planned to go downstairs and wait in the living room for Murong Cheng to bring Ceci down. She didn't dare to slip away early, lest Murong Cheng trouble her after returning. She turned around and just walked down 2 flights of steps when she heard voices coming from Mr. Mu's study. After Mr. Mu passed away, the study was requisitioned by the eldest son, Mu Rongxian. Mu Ziyi's current targets are Mu Zhenning and Xiao Jingjia, but the rest of the Mu family are not completely without suspicion. She looked around for no one, then walked lightly to the front of the study, and listened with her ears. Mu Rongxian was furious in the study. Perhaps it was because he knew that Mu Zhenning was not at home, and that Murong Cheng had moved to the small mansion, so he spoke very loudly, and he was not afraid of being heard. What kind of prosecutor, even Su Ziyi's finger is inferior. Children's fights and disputes can't be handled well, and they still want to marry into my Mu family. When Mu's house is a vegetable market, all the cheap vegetables go there, Raijin. How ridiculous. I think she might as well go back and be an intern for another 3 years. Mu Ziyi couldn't help but laugh. Mu Rongxian was scolding Xiao Jingjia. Xiao Jingjia must have promised something, but failed to achieve it, to be ridiculed like this. Mu Rongxian said again, "Old Lu, you have to help me this time, Xiaoling is too naughty. It's tormenting me. If the accusation of abuse is really accepted by the court, no matter whether the lawsuit wins or not, there's nowhere to put your face." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Blessed to have each other in this life, Shao, your wife is born again. Author, HhandsomeMaleLead. Chapter 69. I understood. Xiao Jingjia couldn't settle this matter, so Mu Rongxian was calling for help. As the chief of staff of the Judicial Bureau, Mu Rongxian knew a large number of judicial workers, including many lawyers. He received a call from Mu Zhenning during the day. Mu Zhenning explained Xiao Jingjia's difficulties, and advised Mu Rongxian to have a good talk with Mu Zi, and it was best to find another lawyer in case of emergency. Mu Rongxian faltered with a few polite words, but he despised Xiao Jingjia in his heart, thinking that Xiao Jingjia was incompetent and deliberately alarmist. He didn't talk to Mu Zi again. Mu Zi is just an adopted daughter. Mu Rongxian looked for her once, it was condescending to the younger generation, but if he looked for her twice, it would be too much face for her. Now that Mu Zi is going to sue the Mu family for abuse and bullying, Mu Rongxian doesn't want her to get her nose in the face. He made an appointment with a lawyer on the phone to meet tomorrow. Mu Zi, who was outside the door, heard it clearly, the corners of her mouth slightly raised. It seems that Xiao Jingjia wants to marry into Mu's family. Without her intervention, there will be some disturbances. Mu Zi quietly backed away and returned to the stairs. Mu Rongxian didn't know when he got up and stood there, looking at her silently. The light cast a shadow on his face, and the handsome outline became more and more dark and gloomy. Mu Zi felt that his little heart began to tremble again. Mu Rongxian is really scary. What are you going to do? He stood under the lamp without moving. His figure was slender and upright, his thin lips hooked into a faint smile. It's nothing. Mu Zi pretended to be calm. I was bored waiting, so I wandered around. Mu Rongxian didn't ask any more questions, he waved at her and said, let's go back. Mu Zi dawdled, not wanting to get too close to him. Mu Rongxian got impatient with waiting, so he brought her over and put her next to the boa constrictor at his feet. What? Mu Zi let out a soft cry, her ankle went numb when she touched the snake scale, and she almost couldn't stand up. It's really useless, Mu Rongxian scolded her, but with a smile in his eyes. You want my brother to hug you? No need. Mu Zi hurriedly shook her head. Mu Rongxian took a deep look at her and walked ahead without saying a word. Sis crawled slowly, so they walked slowly. Mu Rongxian was at the head of the snake, and Mu Zi was at the tail of the snake, separated by 3 or 4 meters. They lived in peace all the way. When he came to a place, Mu Rongxian suddenly stopped for some reason. Mu Zi walked with her head down, without paying attention. She bumped into his back all of a sudden. What happened? Before she could finish her question, Mu Rongxian slammed her against a nearby tree. Kiss fiercely. Mu Zi thought she was very clear about what the kiss was all about, but Mu Rongxian opened the door to a new world for her. He was tough and unreasonable, offensive and lacking in skills. He was savage while devouring, yelling anxiously and viciously, wishing to tear her to pieces. What a bad experience. Mu Zi even wondered if he knew how to kiss. She struggled to push him, exhausted all her strength, and was so angry that she wanted to bite off his tongue. Mu Rongxian suddenly let go of her at this moment. I'm going on a long trip these few days, you have to be good at home. He hugged Mu Zi in his arms and sighed, stroking the thick black hair on the back of her head. Mu Zi's anger was instantly dispelled because of his words. Mu Rongxian is leaving? Ha ha ha. Mu Rongxian is leaving. This pervert is finally going to hum off. Mu Zi couldn't help being happy. She was so happy that she didn't notice at all that the place where Mu Rongxian kissed her happened to be the place where she spoke to Mu Zhenning last time. Mu Rongxian took Mu Zi back and taught her to wash Ceci's body with the disheveled hair, then dry it with a cotton cloth, and finally apply a layer of special medicinal solution to prevent parasites. Mu Zi cooperated in the whole process without any complaints. How could Mu Rongxian fail to notice the strangeness in her? He narrowed his deep eyes slightly, and looked at Mu Zi. I'm leaving, you seem very happy. Blessed to have each other in this life, Mu Shao, your wife is born again. Author, Hua Liao. Chapter 70. I'm leaving, you seem happy? Is not this nonsensical? Mu Zi wanted to yell, not only am I happy that a scoundrel like you is leaving, but I also want to set off some firecrackers to celebrate. No, Mu Zi lowered her eyes to hide the excitement in her eyes. Murong is not a real playboy, so of course he won't be idle at home every day. Although it is not clear what his secret identity is, Mu Zi knows that Murong has great influence. This is also one of the reasons why Mu Zi has always been afraid of him. Murong didn't speak for a while. He silently stared at Mu Zi with a thoughtful expression. The girl in front of her was wearing rubber gloves, and was following his instructions, slowly wiping the soft and fat body of the boa constrictor with a cotton cloth soaked in the liquid medicine. The scales glowed with oil after being wet, and the patterns on the snake's body became more gorgeous. She adapted quickly. Although her repulsion could still be seen, at least she no longer trembled or turned pale. Actually, Murong slowly opened his mouth. Zizi can go with me. Muse's hand holding the medicine bottle shook violently. The potion spilled out. I'm just joking, Murong smiled, and then took a clean towel to wipe off the spilled medicine for her. Mu Zi really wanted to slap him. The two waited on Sisi in the bathroom together, and then sent him back to the terrarium. This is not an easy task. Sisi is too big and too fat, weighing more than 100 kgs. It is said that it is the result of Murong diet to lose weight, otherwise it would be even heavier. When everything was done, Mu Zi broke out in a fine sweat. She had to take another shower. After washing for a long time, and even washing her hair again, she made sure that she could no longer smell the slightest smell of snakes, so she went back to her room in peace. Because of dealing with Murong, she felt like she had fought a battle today, exhausted physically and mentally. However, as soon as he entered the door, he saw Murong sitting beside the bed. His arms were bare, his hair was wet, and he looked like he had just taken a shower too. Mu Zi took a breath, turned around and left. She is going to sleep in Bai Wei's room. Murong grabbed her arm from behind, pulled her into the room suddenly, and closed the door smoothly. What he closed was a door, but Mu Zi felt that what he closed was her life's hope. She almost lost control and beat the man in front of her like crazy. But the man was not shaken at all. He hugged her with his iron-cast arms, threw her on the bed, bent over and pressed her down. At that moment, Mu Zi thought of how he had bullied her on this bed. Her eye sockets instantly turned red. Murong, don't go too far. She is not a bun. She forbears in every possible way, just because she wants to find out the truth about her murder, and she doesn't want to go to war, causing a storm in the city. But the premise of all this is that Murong must stop in moderation. Murong leaned over Mu Zi, staring at her condescendingly. She seemed to have reached the limit of her patience. Her eyes were scarlet, and there was a fury in her expression that she was about to kill him at any time. Murong suddenly felt a little regretful. In his eyes, Mu Zi's furious expression was just an angry cat, which did not constitute the slightest threat. But he never wanted to annoy her. He was just looking forward to it for too long, and when he suddenly got it, he would find it difficult to control himself. Sleep, I won't touch you. Murong pulled her to lie down. His voice was hoarse and sleepy. I'm leaving tomorrow. Tomorrow, Murong will leave. Sue's words gave Mu Zi hope, and the tense aura on her body instantly dissipated. Once a person has hope, it is difficult to generate the momentum and courage to fight to the death. Mu Zi was stunned, confused. She didn't understand why Murong sometimes bullied her like an unscrupulous bully, and sometimes loved her so much as if he was devoted to her. When this thought came up, Muzi I immediately denied it. Suzy I, he bullies you just because of his mood, but you think he loves you just because he let you go for a while. Do you have Stockholm Syndrome? He is a madman. It's a pervert. Do perverts know what love is? No, he will never understand.